Hello everyone, welcome to Synthesis IAS Academy, a place where blend of ideas take place. About me and Sandeep Bhushan and my credentials are I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I teach issue based current affairs. And this session will be certainly useful for you because throughout my session I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases. So these keywords and the key phrases will certainly be useful for you while you imbibe them in your answer writing, that is for the mains 2020, and for sure for prelims 2021. While you are getting into the mode of identifying the keywords and the key phrases, these keywords and the key phrases, by identifying, you will get into the mode of also getting into the practice of identifying the factual, analytical and conceptual questions, which will be very useful for you for the prelims 2021. So therefore my session will be certainly useful for mains 2020 as well as prelims 2021. So do follow my session completely, wherein you will be benefited by my session, and then do subscribe the session so that you can also have the following, the forthcoming issues or the topics notification. So for the today's topic is the confluence of four powers and two seas. So definitely we will be focusing on the four powers, the four countries and the two seas, Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. So when we would be focusing on the topic, the confluence of four powers and two seas, I would be also getting into the mode of the subtopics, wherein by getting into the mode or emphasizing on the subtopics, you will be in a position to understand the complete, thorough and a comprehensive understanding about the confluence of four powers and two seas. So definitely the confluence of four powers and two seas, what is that? We'll look at it, and then in the process of the four powers, and two seas, definitely we will be looking at the quadrilateral or quad and the timeline of Malabar exercise. And in regards to the what are the various challenges because of the quad and Malabar exercises to India from various in regards to the various countries in the Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean, or specific in regards to the China. And then when we have the challenges which we would be meeting ahead gradually India, so how we would be moving forward and what are the various measures we need to get into the mode of, so that we can overcome the challenges. And then I would also look at the conclusion. So these subtopics will be very useful for you in regards to having a short notes for the answers, that is for the mains examination, in regards to the quadrilateral and Malabar exercise. So these two concepts are being covered today in the main topic, that is issue based topic called as the confluence of four powers and two seas. So when we are talking about the confluence, that is joining of four powers and the two seas together, definitely India is the only country which is part of the quad, that is quadrilateral, that is in regards to the India, US, Japan and Australia. These are the four countries which are part of the quadrilateral, and India is the only country which shares boundary with China. Boundary with China of the quad will not help India deal with that threat. So definitely India is the only country which is sharing the boundary, land boundary with China. And the entire, if you look at the militarization of the quad, this will not help India, because we certainly have the boundary, land boundary issues between India and China. No doubt we are facing it, we are experiencing it now in the eastern Ladakh, along the LAC in the eastern Ladakh, and we also have the skirmishes even in the Sikkim middle sector, Sikkim, and also we have experienced it in the 2017 Doklam issue or the Chumbi Valley, and we have also come across various issues, the land boundary issues between India and China, even in the Arunachal sector. So certainly India is the only country among the quad which share the land boundary, and that is really a cause of concern. When we are talking of the confluence of the four powers, that is the emergence of the quad, whether quad being India being part of the quad will really help India to have a better relations with China, or the relations which are deteriorating with China, whether it will help India to overcome the land boundary issue and the militarization of the Quad, will definitely India in regards to the threats which have been posed from China towards India in regards to land boundary and also economically also. And when we look at the US, Japan and Australia, they are all tied by military alliances. So in the Quad, it is only India, a member of the Quad, which is having other strategic forums, which is part of the other strategic forums, that is in regards to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization or SCO, and then it has strategic relationship with China, Russia, Central Asia, BRICS, and then RIC, that is Russia, India, China. So this, if you look at all this, when you have the strategic alliance with China, Russia, Central Asia, BRICS, RIC and SCO, which India is having a strategic forum with all these organizations. So it appears that as of now, Quad, India being the member of the Quad, would be at a cross purpose with having or being part of the Quad alliance. So it is very, very crucial at this juncture that how India would be part of the Quad and being benefited when India is having a line boundary dispute with China, that is in the eastern Ladakh. Now we are facing the skirmish and the face off between India and China along the LAC. So that is what the very big question about the confluence of four powers and the two seas, how India would be trying to balance being part of the Quad and being part of the Malabar exercise, and then going ahead with the various military and naval exercise in the Indian Ocean and in the Indo-Pacific Ocean itself. So definitely it is a very big challenge to India how it will really try to make how that situation being felt, that whether it is at the cross purpose or whether it will be benefited to India. Now we will definitely look at the timeline of quadrilateral. So when we are talking about the quadrilateral, that is Quad, that is the four countries which are India, US and then Japan and Australia. So these four countries, the concept of the Quad was originally born, and it has actually come up when there was a crisis which we have experienced, that is the tsunami which has come in the year 2004. So the actual concept of Quad was originally born when the crisis, that is tsunami, which has hit or struck the Indian Ocean and further to the African coast. So then we have actually the Quad has actually born between India and the other countries, US, Japan and Australia in the year 2004. And within the days of disasters, India has mobilized an impressive fleet of demonstrating to the entire world that India can not just manage in regards to the rescue efforts which has been badly hit to Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Orissa and West Bengal, and also Kerala in India, and also very specifically in regards to Andaman Nicobar Islands. But India has proved to the world, or it has demonstrated to the world, that it could also provide assistance not only to the states of India or the coastal states of India, but also to the maritime neighbors of India, that is to Sri Lanka, Maldives and Indonesia. So certainly India has demonstrated to the world that it can not just manage the rescue efforts for the only Indian states, but also to the maritime neighbors also. So in all, there were 32 Indian ships and 5,500 troops which were pressed by the Indian international efforts to make sure that we actually successfully take up the efforts, disaster response efforts in regards to the tsunami. And then the humanitarian and disaster relief effort was coordinated within very few weeks from the tsunami, that is December 26, 2004, and three other naval powers have joined or engaged to the rescue effort, that is US, Australia and Japan. So look at it, how India has demonstrated to the world that the rescue efforts can be initiated by India and then later on joined by US, Australia and Japan. Thereby and eventually a Quad effort has come into existence and it was handed over to the UN. But the idea of Indo-Pacific, but after that, gradually after that tsunami rescue effort or disaster relief efforts or humanitarian relief efforts, later on the idea of Indo-Pacific has come up as a larger maritime security community. So it was taken into consideration as a larger maritime strategic community. So wherein a Quad has been come up with an effective instrument, and it has been planted in the minds of 4 countries, that is India, US, Japan and Australia. So thereby the promoting of the idea by the then Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has come up with an idea of arc of prosperity and freedom. Arc of prosperity and freedom. So this is the key phrase wherein it could be a question in the mains in regards to the arc of prosperity and freedom. Not talking about the Quad, not really mentioning about the Quad, but in regards to making sure that how the idea of promote the arc of prosperity and freedom had brought the Quad countries close together by the main idea of the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe then in the year, post 2004 tsunami disaster, and later on the concept has been materialized and discussed by the then Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh during a summit in December 2006, and then slowly or gradually the Quad has come into existence. But originally it was born at the time wherein the tsunami has struck the Indian coast, and then how India has responded to the rescue efforts. And contrary to this, if you look at, it was not India which has cancelled, because they are the news is also around the corner that India was the one which has actually not been interested in the Quad exercise in the year 2008. But it is not that. It is not India which has moved out of the Quad exercise in the year 2008, but it is no doubt the US which was actually trying to gain the China support for the 6-party talks. Here this is very important. So US was in regards to the 6-party talks so that it can have the 6 nations together to have a talk with the North Korea, so that there could be a solution between US and North Korea. So there at that situation or that scenario, US was definitely trying to gain the Chinese support to have a discussions with North Korea. But as the situation was dampened because of the enthusiasm by the Quad foreign ministers meeting, and also Kevin Rudd government, then the Australian Prime Minister, has pulled out of the exercise. Thereby the Quad was shelved for the next decade. So I hope now you are getting the exact conceptual idea about what has happened in the past in regards to the Quad. That is, Quad in the year 2008 was not really cancelled because India did not like it. No, it was US which wanted the China's support for the 6-party talks in regards to having a peace deal with the North Korea. So then US was not really happy or to go ahead with the Quad exercise in the 2008, and the other one was the Australian government or Kevin Rudd government of Australia has pulled out of the exercise. Thereby the entire Quad exercise was almost shelved, or it was in a dormant state for almost 1 decade. And in the process we have the exercise was cancelled in the year 2008, and in the process within 4 years or half a decade, in the year 2012, China's Navy has undergone its massive modernization drive. This is a keyword. So when the Quad has been cancelled by various reasons because of US and Australia pulling out of it, in the process China has taken this advantage and it started with massive modernization drive in the Blue Waters Navy, that is definitely in the South China Sea, and then trying to have its importance being felt even in the Indian Ocean, and then further to the Persian Gulf and having its base in the Djibouti in Horn of Africa. So definitely it was going ahead with a massive modernization drive in South China Sea, and then Indian Ocean, Indo-Pacific Ocean, and also at the Arabian Sea or the Persian Gulf also. So definitely massive modernization drive has been taken up by commissioning its first aircraft carrier Liaoning in the year 2012. So this is what is very important, how China did try to take the maximum benefit of the cancellation of the Quad exercise in the year 2008. And then further in the year 2017, we have seen that definitely this was the one which was getting to the return of Quad in the year 2017, that is was named as Quad 2.0. So when this was being materialized as the Quad 2.0, here again it was again the Washington assistance, that is USS assessment. So earlier it wanted China in the year 2008, it wanted China to be part of the six-party talk to have a discussion with the North Korea, and later on once everything went off, and then again in the year 2017 if you look at, it was Washington's assessment that there would be a challenge from China, thereby the concept of Quad 2.0 has come onto the table once again. That means again a similar reassessment have been taken up by New Delhi, Tokyo and Canberra, that is India, Japan and US, that yes, there is a probable challenge and threat from China, so why not let's all come together and have a Quad 2.0, which was cancelled in 2008. So that is why again 2017 a Quad 2.0 has come up. And then in 2017 also, as I've discussed, that there was a Doklam standoff between India and China, or else Indian Army and the PLA Army. So this was a very good chance for India to have the reassessment on the Quad 2.0, so that as India was definitely facing a threat from PLA, so four countries have met in Malina in regards to the Indo, Australia, Japan and US dialogue. So thereby Quad 2.0 has come up very particular in regards to challenging the threats from China. So definitely differences within the group went deeper. Why? Because India defined Indo-Pacific region. So here this is a keyword in regards to the defining of what is Indo-Pacific region by India, and then US defining or limiting it as what is Indian coast. So there was a differences. India was defining the Indo-Pacific region from Africa and the US to the west coast, but US limited it to only Indian coast. Please do understand, only to Indian coast. And then in 2020 US aligned its definitions with India. So there was differences which was growing deeper in regards to defining the Indo-Pacific region and in regards to defining Indian coast. So again in the year 2018 we have seen a dialogue which has been taken up, that is in the Shangri-La dialogue. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made it very clear that it sees or looks at Indo-Pacific as a geographical concept and not as a strategy and not as a club of limited members. So look at it, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that is Indian Prime Minister, has made it very clear that what is that India is actually looking at or focusing at Indo-Pacific region, it as a geographical concept but not as a strategy or not just as a club of limited members. So a very clear message has been sent by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the year 2018 at Shangri-La dialogue. Now we will focus at the timeline of Malabar exercise. So when you focus at the Malabar exercise, definitely it is in regards to the bilateral. It started with the bilateral naval exercise between India and US in the year 1992. So this is 2020. So we have seen the Malabar exercise which has started as bilateral. Now it is trilateral. Now it is trilateral. But US and Japan wanted this trilateral Malabar exercise, which is as of now, as on today, to be converted as Quad also, Quad exercise also in the future, near future. So, but it initially started in the year 1992 as bilateral naval exercise between India and US, and then further in the year 2007, it was India and US Malabar exercise, which has actually taken off first in Okinawa, and then later on after a few months it has been taken up in the Visakhapatnam coast, and then they included Japan, Australia and Singapore. Please do understand, in the 2007 and Once it has taken off in the Okinawa, Japan coast region, and then later on it started, it went on again in the exercise, Malabar exercise of Visakhapatnam coast, and then Japan, Australia and Singapore have joined. And if you look at these exercises, definitely the one which was the main program or the main objective of Mr. Shinzo Abe, it is the exercises and the strategic coordination of Mr. Abe, which he called the Malabar exercise as the confluence of two seas. Confluence of two seas, which Beijing and Moscow, who termed it as an attempt of Asian NATO. So Japan was talking about this exercise as the confluence of two seas, but Russia and China have focused this, or they have looked at this in regards to both the Malabar and the Quad as an Asian NATO. Malabar and Quad, especially Quad as the Asian NATO. And again in the year 2015, Malabar exercise was further from bilateral, it was expanded to trilateral format by the inclusion of Japan. First it was India and USA in the year 1992, and in the year 2015 it has been expanded from bilateral to trilateral with the inclusion of Japan. So definitely slowly Japan has also been part of the Malabar exercise and it termed as trilateral exercise. And 2017 Australia requested for an observer status in the trilateral exercise, and in January 2018 it was the then former Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull who had said that there are definitely talks going ahead in regards to the Malabar exercise, and the talks are actually progressing well for Australia's entry into Malabar exercise or Australia's entry into trilateral Malabar exercise. But however, then India did not include Australia. India did not include Australia in the exercise of 2018 and also in the 2019. And now the next is 2020 in the month of November 2020. It would be the next trilateral Malabar exercise, and we should wait and watch whether this trilateral Malabar exercise would be a quadrilateral Malabar exercise. Just we have to wait and see. And then we have come across in the month of July 3rd week 2020 this year, there was a parallel exercise which was initiated including the trilateral exercise, that is US, Australia and Japan in the Philippines Sea. Please do understand, it was a parallel exercise along with the trilateral exercise. Keywords: it is the parallel exercise along with the trilateral exercise between US, Australia and Japan in the Philippines Sea. And there was a bilateral also exercise between India and US, that is Indo-US naval exercise called as PASEX, that is passage exercise. So it was moving from Philippines to Indonesia. So in the passage there was an exercise in the Eastern Indian Ocean near Andaman Nicobar Islands, and that has fueled speculation about quadrilateral exercise to be launched soon after all four navies will come together, probably in the 2020 November, the Malabar exercise or quadrilateral exercise. And now we will focus, we did focus on the quad, and then we did focus on Malabar exercise, the entire timeline. Now we will focus that on the challenges ahead which India might encounter. So definitely, unlike USA and its Pacific partners, that is unlike US and then Japan and Australia, these three countries, their principal motivation is a maritime coalition. Please do understand, US, Japan and Australia excluding India, if we will focus on these three countries among the Quad, they have a principal motivation, and that principal motivation is maritime coalition, and this is based on rules based order. So a maritime coalition which is implemented as per the rules based order in the Indo-Pacific area littorals, which is a principal motivation of US, Japan and Australia. But when you compare it with India, India has a different priority, and India's priority is to acquire strategic capabilities. Please do understand. The priority of US, Japan and Australia is maritime coalition, which is rules based order in the Indo-Pacific littorals. But if you look at the India's priority, it is in regards to acquiring strategic capabilities. So it wanted to acquire strategic capability in the Indo-Pacific region. Why? Because to counter the Chinese naval presence in the Indian Ocean. That is the top priority of India, and thereby the challenge is the maritime coalition of the rest of the three countries, that is US, Japan and Australia, and the India's priority is to acquire strategic capabilities. So in the midst of acquiring the strategic capabilities, can India go ahead with having or fulfilling its priority, trying to be part of the Quad, or whether it will be the US will dominate again in the Indo-Pacific region or in the Indonesian. And while Japan and Australia are bound by alliance treaties, so these two countries have the treaties, so they do have their own boundaries in regards to the having or being part of the Quad, and US, that is having their alliance treaties with the US. And if we focus in regards to the New Delhi, it is charted its own strategic autonomy. So India's top priority is certainly to counter the Chinese naval presence in the Indian Ocean. Not only that, but at the same time have the strategic autonomy. India wants strategic autonomy and also to counter Chinese naval presence in the Indian Ocean, but not to be in the entire command or in the pursuit of the US assessment. And US interest in bringing India, this is very crucial here. It is the US interest which is time and again trying to bring India in regards to Indo-Pacific and Indonesian to counter China, and this is in regards to the bilateral tensions between which are going ahead into the Indo-Pacific region. So US is bringing India into bilateral tensions. Please do understand, US interest is bringing into the bilateral tensions in the Indo-Pacific region. Why? Inviting Quad to take a role in the Indo-China tensions as well. So there is a challenge, there is an advantage. What is the challenge is US trying to bring India into bilateral tensions into the Indo-Pacific region. That is US with China in the South China Sea. And again, probably the Quad will, through the Quad, India will have probably an advantageous role, wherein it can also resolve the tension between India and China, which is India experiencing in the eastern Ladakh. So it's both advantage and as well as a threat also. That is the biggest challenge now. While India has acquired, and this is another one, India has acquired airborne surveillance assets from US. So definitely India is having in regards to the surveillance, India is definitely having an upper hand in the Indian Ocean against China. That is in regards to the Indian Navy. But in regards to the Indian Navy is yet to develop the undersea capabilities. So this surveillance, yes, it is positive. In regards to the undersea, it is negative. We need to yet develop the undersea capabilities. Why we need to develop? To deter or to counter the Chinese submarines which are in the Eastern Indian Ocean. When we are talking about Eastern Indian Ocean, no doubt it is very close to Andaman Nicobar Islands. And that is what is crucial now. And that is also a challenge to India, how India will meet or overcome these challenges. And the way forward is, now the question arises, part of the way forward and part of the challenge is whether India will invite Australia for the next Malabar exercise. If it does invite, so what will be the benefit? Is it to just counter the China? At this moment, what China is creating trouble in the eastern Ladakh and in the Sikkim region and in the Arunachal Pradesh, and also supporting Pakistan in regards to the China-Pakistan economic corridor, and also virtually supporting Nepal in regards to having its new political map, and also having a very good relations even with Bangladesh and also Sri Lanka. So in that regards, whether India will invite Australia for the next Malabar exercise is a very big question, and part of it, yes, you need to go ahead, and that is the way forward. And India should develop another measure of the way forward is India should develop its own strategic vision, because it is actually wanting its own strategic autonomy. It is wanting to counter China in the Indo-Pacific or Indian Ocean. So definitely India has to develop its own strategic vision, especially the standoff with China or the face off with China. And India should revert to traditional position. This is another one. First is Malabar exercise, have its own strategic vision, and third one is to revert back or go back to the traditional position of non-alignment. Why? Because enlisting, that is join or engage the Chinese ally, that is the friend of China, Russia, in regards to attempting to manage the threat from Beijing. So if we wanted to counter or overcome the threat from China, we need to get to the traditional method or the position of being non-aligned. When you are not non-aligned here, that means you should not be closely associated with US. But if we are part of US and part of Quad, so definitely India should go back. I mean, these are the measures of the way forward, to go back to the traditional positions of non-alignment, to have a friendly relations with Russia and to counter China. And India should pursue multi-alignment. Fourth one, India should pursue multi-alignment. Not only, if not non-alignment, India should pursue multi-alignment. That means inviting middle powers such as EU, UK, France, Russia, Brazil, UAE, South Africa into the Indo-Pacific strategy, so that we can develop a concept of multilateralism in making sure that what the kind of dominance China is trying to exhibit in the South China Sea and the Indian Ocean and in the Indo-Pacific and also in the Arabian Sea and Persian Gulf also. In these, India has to go ahead with getting into the mode of multi-alignment with various countries and the European Union also, so that we will have a better balanced approach to counter China or to pacify China and to have a friendly relations to rebounds with Russia and then China. And then now the question lies is whether India's course lies in closer coalition with the Chinese adversaries. That means, is it correct to have good relations with the Chinese enemy at this moment? For example, US, Australia, Japan. Is it very good to be part of the Quad, which are the Chinese adversaries, or choosing its corner in the new Cold War? So definitely now we see the new Cold War era, that is not between US and Soviet Union and Russia. Now it is between US and China. So in this new Cold War era, which has actually taken shape between US and China, will it choose to be corner or not really be active, or to have a closer coalition with the Chinese enemy or adversaries? And the conclusion here is that India's moves with the Quad will be closely watched. Conclusion, will be closely watched, no doubt, from China and from Russia. No doubt from China and Russia. And they bear more meaning than ever before in the path to realize the strategic future, strategic autonomy also of India. And then upgrading the trilateral Malabar into quadrilateral exercise, without acquiring requisite combat and deterrence capability. This is the keyword here. So just being part of the quad or quadrilateral exercise, it doesn't really fetch India to have any gain in the short term. But what is required is we need to acquire. This is very important. India has to acquire the requisite combat and deterrence capability, combat capability and deterrence capability against China. Only then it would be a balanced or a strategic move to be part of the quadrilateral. But if it would be proved, otherwise it would be proved ineffective in the long run. So what is required is we need to acquire requisite combat and deterrence capabilities to counter China effectively in the Indian Ocean and also in the Arabian Sea or Persian Gulf. Only then it will be. Otherwise, this quadrilateral or trilateral Malabar exercise to quadrilateral exercise would certainly prove an ineffective in the longer run, because it is just a military coalition. There is a military coalition between the rest of the three countries among the four quadrilateral, skipping or excluding India. So definitely we need to have the requisite combat and deterrence capability, which we need to gain. So I hope this entire session, that is in regards to quadrilateral and then Malabar exercise, and also we are focused at the challenges, way forward and the conclusion. So this will be a very important session, current issue based current issue, wherein you will have a very good information for your mains answer writing. That is in regards to, can India at this juncture allow or invite Australia to be part of the quadrilateral exercise, that is from trilateral to quadrilateral Malabar exercise, or whether it will be a backfire or boomerang to or ineffective to India. So I hope this session was very informative, knowledgeable, and I would say a big thank you and a good luck to everyone. And then do like the video, share the video, and then also subscribe the video. Do subscribe the video for future videos. I mean, you would have notification, which you can have the notification once you subscribe and hit the bell button. And then do subscribe the Synthesis IAS Academy, wherein blend of ideas take place. And I would come up with the new issue based current affairs, issue based topic, which will be certainly useful for mains 2020 and also for prelims 2021. So thank you very much. I would come up with the next issue based current affairs.